Welcome to History in Flames, where battles are remembered, empires rise and fall, the past comes alive in fire and ash. Subscribe and relive the stories that shaped the world. As World War II raged across continents, few nations managed to stay out of the carnage. But Portugal, an aging colonial empire led by a dictator, remained officially neutral. Why didn't Portugal join the war? And how did a small Iberian nation manage to navigate one of the deadliest conflicts in human history without firing a shot?
Ow.
This is the story of Portugal's neutrality in World War II, filled with diplomacy, pressure, espionage, and quiet resistance. In 1939, as Hitler invaded Poland and Britain and France declared war, Europe was once again plunged into chaos. At the western edge of the continent, Portugal was ruled by de Oliveira Salazar, a conservative authoritarian who had risen to power during the political instability of the 1920s. Salazar had created the Estado Novo, or a new state, a nationalist Catholic regime that valued order, tradition, and isolation. He had watched the horrors of the Spanish Civil War just across the border. That brutal conflict where Nazis and Soviets tested their weapons and ideologies had devastated Spain. Salazar was determined to avoid the same fate. Portugal was still recovering economically and militarily. It was not prepared for modern war. From the start of World War II, Salazar declared a firm stance of neutrality. But neutrality didn't mean Portugal was uninvolved. Behind the scenes, Salazar was balancing dangerous pressures from both the Axis and Allied powers. His core objective was simple: preserve Portugal's sovereignty at all costs. He feared both Nazi Germany's expansionism and the spread of communism. His regime had ideological ties to fascism, but unlike Franco's Spain, Salazar kept his distance. Though neutral, Portugal had a historic alliance with Britain. Dating back to 1386, the oldest active military alliance in the world. In 1943, under quiet negotiations, Portugal allowed the British to establish air and naval bases on the Azores Islands in the mid-Atlantic. This was a turning point in the Battle of the Atlantic, helping Allied convoys detect German U-boats and resupply faster. Salazar didn't make this move lightly. It was a subtle but strategic nod of support to the Allies without breaking neutrality. Portugal possessed a critical natural resource, wolfram, also known as tungsten. Tungsten was used to harden steel, vital for tanks, shells, and machine parts. Both the Axis and Allies desperately wanted it. Salazar, in a high-risk gamble, sold to both sides, profiting from their desperation. But as the war intensified, this balancing act became impossible. In 1944, after intense Allied pressure, Portugal suspended all tungsten exports to Germany. The Nazis were furious, but Portugal held its ground. Portugal still held a vast overseas empire. Angola, Mozambique, Goa, Timor, Macau. Salazar feared that joining the war could invite attacks on his colonies, either by Axis raiders or Allied occupation. Remaining neutral was a way to preserve Portugal's global footprint. Ironically, many Portuguese colonies would later become strategic hubs and targets during the Cold War. Portugal also played an unexpected role in the humanitarian side of the war. Despite government policy, Portuguese diplomat Aristides de Sousa Mendes defied orders and issued thousands of visas to Jews fleeing Nazi-occupied Europe. His actions saved over 30,000 lives. He was later punished by Salazar and died in poverty, but today he is remembered as a hero. Lisbon, meanwhile, became a hotbed of espionage. Spies from the British, Germans, Americans, and Soviets all operated in the city, passing secrets in and using Portugal as a neutral channel for covert communications. Portugal emerged from World War II undamaged and sovereign. Thanks to its neutral stance, its economy even improved slightly, and its infrastructure was untouched. But Salazar's regime used the war to strengthen its grip on power. Portugal remained under dictatorship until the 1974 Carnation Revolution. Despite neutrality, Portugal's role was far from passive. It walked a dangerous tightrope between war and peace, selling, negotiating, sheltering, and surviving. Its quiet diplomacy and decisive leadership kept the country out of the flames, but involved it in almost every other way. Portugal may not have fought on the front lines, but it shaped key moments of World War II from behind the curtain. Through diplomacy, tradition, and strategic positioning, it stayed neutral. But it was never truly uninvolved. This is the forgotten chapter of a global war, and one more example of how history is never black and white. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. Share your thoughts below.